Hello everyone, I welcome you all again on my channel, that is Plant Pathology Universe. So I'm here with my third video for this channel. Guys, please like, subscribe and share my channel so that you'll provide me enough support that I'll bring new topics of plant pathology for your understanding and for betterment. Okay, so the topic that we are going to discuss today, that is diseases of wheat. So as we know that wheat is a very important crop of India, particularly your Punjab state, and wheat, which is also known as Triticum aestivum. So we are going to discuss majorly three important wheat diseases. As we all know, the most important disease of wheat is your rust. Then we'll be discussing smut, burns, and some of the minor diseases, as well as one bacterial disease as well as one viral disease. So without further delay, let's start. So here guys, I'm discussing about the first disease of wheat. So that is known as stem rust of wheat, right? So this stem rust of wheat, if you see here, it is caused by your pathogen that is known as Puccinia graminis triticide. Okay, so this is the pathogen which is causing this disease, which is known as Puccinia graminis formispecialis triticide. Okay, and it is known by the two names. One is the black rust of wheat and second one is the stem rust of wheat, right? Now it is designated as the black rust of wheat because here the important spores, that is your teliospores, which are generally of black in color after maturity, right? So if we discuss about the rust diseases, generally we will have two types of spores. We will study their disease cycle and different types of spores that are there in the rust in a separate video. So today you can remember only that it is known as the black rust of wheat because here the teliospores, which are the maturity spores in case of rust, they are generally of black in color. So for now you can remember that your rust spores, they are of two types, that is uridospores as well as your teliospores. So here, since the teliospores, which will appear as the pustules on your stem portion of the your plant majorly, that's why it is known as the black rust of wheat and also known as the stem rust of wheat, right? So now here if you look at its symptoms, so here you can see first symptom is the presence of reddish brown pustules, right? So here you can see the presence of reddish brown pustules. So these reddish brown pustules which are there, they will turn black with maturity. That is why it is known as the black rust of wheat, right? So here the symptoms, they will appear as black pustules which will appear on the maturity. Other symptoms will include stunting of the plants with the shriveled grains. Majorly this rust disease, it is affecting the stem portion of the plant, right? Now since it is a airborne disease, because here it is spread more and more by the uridospores basically, which are your spreading spores that travel through your hills, through the central plains, and thereby cause this particular disease in the northern part of India, right? So there are different management practices that we can adopt for manage this disease. Among them, the most prominent and the most commonly used is the use of chemicals. So here you can use one fungicide that is known as Plantavex, which is also known as oxycarboxyn, at the rate of around 0.1% at 15 days interval, followed by another fungicide that is mancozeb at 0.25%, which is effective, right? But since if we do not want to adopt for your chemical fungicides, then we can go for the use of rust resistant varieties, right? So in the next slide, now here you can see that initially these pustules that will appear on the stem portion of the plant, they are orangish in color, but later with time when they convert these uridospores, they are being converted into the teliospores, so they will appear blackish in appearance. That's why it is known as stem rust of wheat as well as your black rust of wheat. Okay, now the next type of rust is leaf rust or the brown rust of wheat, which is caused by the fungus Puccinia recondita, which is also known as Puccinia triticina. Right, now again the same logic applies here. It is known as the leaf rust because it is majorly affecting the leaf portion of the plant, and it is known as the brown rust because here these typical pustules that will appear on the leaf portion, they will turn brown in color with maturity. Here you can see these are its teleospores and these are the uridospores as they are visualized under a microscope. Okay, so the symptoms will include that there is a presence of orange pustules on the leaves which will turn brown with the maturity, and again a similar management practice for all the rust can be followed, that is the application of your Plantavax and Mancozeb along with your growing the rust resistant varieties. Okay, now this you can see here that initially the leaf rust, they will have these orange pustules that will appear on their leaf surface, but later with time these pustules they will turn brownish in color, and that's why it is known as the leaf rust of wheat or the brown rust of wheat. Right, next the most important rust that causes maximum or extensive damage in India, particularly in the in the plains of your Punjab and your Himachal hills. Right, this is known as the yellow rust, and it generally requires a comparatively lower or a kind of a colder temperature for its survival as compared to your stem rust and the leaf rust. Right, and the uridospores of this particular rust, they generally travels from your Nepal regions or from your central plains, that will cause basically this disease. Okay, so it is known as stripe rust and the yellow rust of wheat because here the symptoms they will appear on the leaf surface as well as on the stem surface, but they will, sorry, they will appear in the form of stripes. So as you can see here, in the form of long stripes they will appear, and these pustules, they are yellowish in color. That's why the disease is known as yellow rust of wheat, and it is also known as the stripe rust of wheat. Right, now if we go through its a certain your you can see symptoms. So symptoms are that is there is the presence of bright yellow pustules on the leaf as well as leaf sheath. Then second is these generally symptoms they will appear between your leaf veins. That's why the disease is known as stripe rust of wheat. Again, a similar management practices that involves use of Plantavax, propiconazole, which is a EMI fungicide, that is the argosterol methylation inhibitor fungicide, that is generally applied at the rate of 0.1%, or you can also grow the rust resistant varieties. Okay, so that is the most important disease known as the rust disease. Now here you can see these are the uridospores of your stripe rust, and this is how your stripe rust looks under a field condition, where you can see the long stripes of yellow color that will appear on its leaf surface. Now this is a major difference between a stripe rust and a leaf rust. When it is there in a scattered form or in an irregular form, then it is known as leaf rust. However, when it is there in the you can say striped manner, then it is known as your stripe rust, as you can see in this picture. Okay, now we are, as we have moved towards the rust, so these are the three major types, that is your stem rust, leaf rust and stripe rust. Now we are moving towards the second important disease, that is known as the loose smut of wheat. Right, now this is a disease of historically importance because this is a very important disease because it is internally seed borne disease. Now what does here internally seed borne means? So internally seed borne disease means where the pathogen, it will reside inside the seed. Inside the seed means ki inside any seed what we have is as the major component, so that is your embryo. Right, so when the pathogen or the fungus, it resides in the embryo or inside the seed, then it is known as the internally seed borne disease. And when it is present outside the seed, that is it is attached to the seed covering or the coating, then it is known as externally seed borne. For example, your canal bunt of wheat that we will discuss in the next slide. Right, so this is the loose smut of wheat disease, which is caused by your pathogen Astilago nuda tritici, and it is also known as Astilago sagatum tritici, right? So here you can see that every year of the affected plant, it is converted, that is every year your affected plant, it is converted into a black mass of spores. Generally you can see that this particular disease, that is loose smut, it will appear generally in the grains, right? So that is why the grains, the healthier grains, they are being converted into a black mass of spores, right? And as a result of which all the grains will be smutted in a head, and they will be completely transformed into a black powder, as a result of which its kind of yield potential is decreased, because here the grains are not there and they are being converted into a black powdery mass that generally consists of your teleospores. Okay, and again I have already told you that it is a internally seed borne, as the fungus survives in the internal part of the seed in the dormant position. It can be, now since it is an internally seed borne, so you have to go for the seed treatment, right? So that is the best method to manage the seed borne diseases. So here these methods will include seed treatment with the hot water, then your seed treatment with your Vitavax you can use, right? And then your solar heat treatment with the Vitavax, right? Solar heat treatment of the seeds. These are the different methods that you can adopt for managing this particular disease. Okay, now here you can see the healthy greens. These are the healthy greens, and these are your smutted greens, which are being infected by your loose smut of wheat, which is caused by Astilago nuda tritici. Okay, here you can also see these are the smutted grains, right? The next disease that we are talk about is the common bunt, which is also known as the hill bunt of wheat, and it is caused by the two fungal pathogens, that is one is Telicia caries and one is Telicia foetida. Here you can see these are your bunted grains, as you can see. Now the major difference that lies between your smut and bunt being that in case of bunt there is a presence of a fishy odor because of the presence of a compound which is known as trimethylamine, and that is why, because of this particular compound, this disease, that is your bunt disease, it is also known as the stinking smut, because it will gives a very fishy odor, and that is because of the production of the compound trimethylamine, right? So the major symptoms that will appear in this your hill bunt are that the plants, they will become stunted, moderately stunted, and also it is a seed infection causing disease, where your entire kernel, that is your seed, it is being converted into the mass of teleospores that are generally of blackish or brownish in color, right? So it is again a seed borne disease, so you can manage it with the use of your seed treatment with carboxin, propiconazole, and a combination of different fungicides like your Vitavax, Therum, etc., that will cause the effective management of this particular disease. Okay, so that is about your bunt disease. The next disease we have, that is also a very important disease, and it is named after a location in Haryana which is known as Karnal, because it was firstly discovered by Mitra in 1931 from the Karnal region of Haryana, and that is why it is known as the Karnal bunt of wheat, which is again caused by Telicia indica. So you can remember that is your stinking smut or your hill bunt. It is caused by Telicia foetida and Telicia caries, but since Karnal bunt, it has been reported from India, so that's why it is known as the Telicia indica, and now its name has been replaced from Telicia indica to Nivotia indica. Here you can also see this is also an externally seed-borne disease where it particularly affected the seeds, right? So the major symptoms of this canal bunt of wheat will include that the infection may appear on the grains as the presence of black teleospores, which will, with the later time they get exposed. The bunt affected plants will emit the foul odor due to the presence of trimethyl amine, right? Now, since there are certain quarantine restrictions with respect to this disease, so that's why you have to follow the quarantine measures. Quarantine, as you know, it is taken from a word quantum that basically means the 40 days, and that is a kind of a restriction that was being imposed on the movement of certain planting material from one area to another area so as to prevent its spread, right? So you can manage it by the following the cultural practices like your crop rotation, intercropping, etc., and also with your seed treatment, because it is also an externally seed borne disease. So seed treatment with your therum, and also spraying the carboxyl at the rate of around 0.2% along with your carbendazim, right? So that is the second important bunt disease, which is also known as the canal bunt of wheat after your hill bunt. Here you can see the clear differentiation, that here you can see the black spores of teliospores are there. In case of your grain, your entire healthy grain is being converted into this black chaffy mass, and as a result of which it directly affects your yield potential. The next disease that we have is the flag smut of wheat. So this flag smut of wheat, it is a disease of minor importance, and it is caused by the fungal pathogen which is known as Urosystis agropyri, since it will also appears in a grass known as agropyron. So that's why here the pathogen is Urosystis agropyri, right? So here you can see these are its characteristic symptoms, as they will cause the curling of the leaves in a similar fashion which is analogous to your flag twirling. That's why the name flag smut of wheat has been given to this in respect to analogy, right? So smut fungus, it basically affects the leaf sheath and the stem, which is characterized by the presence of the greasy appearance that will looks like a flag, as a result of which the plants will become stunted. They will produce excessive number of tillers. Twisting of the affected leaves will occur, and that will droop down in such a manner like a flag, and that's why they will wither away, and that's why the name flag smut was being imposed to this disease. This disease is again both seed as well as soil borne in nature. As the diseases that we have discussed, like your rust, they are majorly airborne. Your smuts and burns are seed borne, but this is your flag smut of wheat that is both seed as well as soil borne in nature. The next disease we have is leaf blight of wheat, which is caused by Alternaria triticina. As you can see, the characteristic concentric like spots followed by their echlorosis and yellowing or hallowing around the characteristic leaf spots, and these are the structures of your Alternaria that is visualized under a microscope, that will have the both type of septations, that is longitudinal as well as your vertical, and that will give it a name of muriform septations, right? So here you can see that the disease, it will appears in the field when the crop is around 8 weeks old, that it will generally appears at the maturity stage of the crop, where the leaves will show the reddish brown localized oval spots that are being surrounded by the yellow halo. As a result of this, it will decrease the photosynthetic ability of the crop, and thereby gives the crop a burnt appearance. Now this Alternaria triticina, or particularly this Alternaria, it is a seed borne disease as well as soil borne disease, so majorly a seed borne disease. That's why we have to go for the hot water seed treatment and spraying with the fungicide that is known as mancozeb or known as diethane M45, right? So that is about the leaf blight of wheat. Next, we have a disease of another minor importance that is known as the powdery mildew of wheat, which is caused by the pathogen Plumeria graminis formis specialis tritici. Here, the characteristic symptoms of the powdery mildew, they are appearing on the leaves as well as the stem as well as on the ear portion of the plant, where the grayish white powdery growth appears on the leaf, stem, and the floral parts. This powdery growth, it will later become blackish with the drying of the leaves, and ultimately it will affect the photosynthetic ability, that will affect the yield of the crop, right? Now all the crop you can say the diseases that we have discussed, they are the fungal diseases. Now the major important bacterial disease of wheat is the Tundu disease of wheat. This Tundu disease of wheat, it is caused by the bacterium known as Corynebacterium tritici, but it is generally aggravated with causing the extensive damage when a nematode that is known as the ear-cockle nematode, that is Anguina tritici, it becomes integrated with this bacterium, because this nematode helps in the spread and transmission of this bacterium that will versus the make the situation worse, right? So the symptoms will include that there is a yellow exudate that can be appear because of the presence of the bacterial polysaccharides on the spikes, which is again an indicative of bacterial blight. When dry, this exudate, it will turn white, and that will give a very sticky appearance, as there is a presence of sticky mass, as a result of which the early leaves, they may be wrinkled, twisted, dry, and this disease, it is aggravated in the presence of the nematode that is known as the Anguina tritici, because it is seen that the transmission of the bacterium is facilitated by your Anguina tritici, right? So this generally disease, it is more damaging and more aggravated when your bacterium and your nematode, they both are associated, right? So the bacterium is Corynebacterium tritici and your nematode is Anguina tritici. Okay, so that is about the bacterial disease. Now we are going for the last disease, which is the most important viral disease in of your wheat, which is known as the wheat streak mosaic, which is caused by wheat streak mosaic virus. Now here you can see these are the symptoms of the wheat streak mosaic virus. As here you can see that the leaves, they will get mottled, and they also gains a light green yellow color having the discontinuous streaking, right? In stripe rust, there is a striping between the veins. However, in case of wheat streak mosaic, the characteristic symptoms appear as streaking, right? And this infection generally peaks when the leaves, they will get brown in color after this yellowing in the form of stripes, and finally it will result in the death of the plants, and this effect is more pronounced on the plants as stunted also, right? And as a result of which the productivity or the yield of the plant is affected adversely. Okay, so these are the important disease of wheat, if we can recall. So these are your three types of rust diseases. Then your smut diseases, flag smut is there, then your alternaria is there, then your powder mildew disease is there, and among the bacterial disease, the most important being your tundo disease, and in the viral disease, the most important being your wheat streak mosaic disease. Okay, so thank you guys for watching my video. Please support my channel, like, subscribe and share, and do comment in the comment section if you want any specific topic for which on which I can make videos, or should I continue with your ARS net series for plant pathology, because as you know, the ARS exam will be coming in few months as it is being taught. So we can start a series on that as well, or if you want me to continue like this with some random topics also, then you can please comment and show me your response and your support. So thank you very much, all the very best, and please like, subscribe and share. Thank you.